The top business stories live from the Sky Newsroom. Stocks bounce on the news of a US-EU trade deal, narrowly avoiding a hammer blow to the global economy. Amazon announces it's renewed its UEFA Women's Football Partnership till 2030 as England's Lionesses once again win the Euros. Plus, from one employee and a car full of chocolate to a £20 million market share. We'll speak to Ritter Sport on the 10th anniversary here in the UK. A very good afternoon on this Monday. Business Live with me, Darren McCaffrey. Well, the US and the European Union have agreed on a trade deal that will see the bloc face 15% tariffs on most of its exports, including cars. The US President said it's the biggest of all deals, while the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen added it would bring stability and predictability. Well, delighted to say we can speak to Lourdes Catran, who is partner and international lawyer at Hogan Lovells. A very good afternoon to you. Do you think this is going to bring stability and predictability, this trade deal?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Well, the details of the deal reached yesterday between President Trump and European Commissioner President von der Leyen are not yet fully available. So the only thing we have so far is the press release. And then this morning, both President von der Leyen and the Trade Commissioner Šefčovič, have intervened in a press conference. And indeed, they have talked about that the deal will bring stability. But again, I really want to emphasize that there's no fact sheet or frequently asked questions released as of now. This is actually not surprising under the European decision-making process because the European Commission needs to inform member states of the details because, very importantly, they need to get member states' support. We understand that tomorrow morning the European Commission will debrief the EU ambassadors of the specific details.
So you're suggesting that effectively at the European level, even though Ursula von der Leyen has signed up to this, and of course in the EU it is the EU Commission that deal with trade deals, as you say, it needs consent from member states, and this deal might fall apart?
It's very difficult to say whether the deal will actually fall apart because of the position of member states. But you may have already seen that, particularly I think France, and possibly I would say other member states as well as stakeholders, have raised certain concerns about the heavy concessions on the European side. And there has also been comments from industry bodies that this is an inadequate compromise. However, German Chancellor Merz and Italy's Prime Minister Meloni, they both welcomed the deal. And they consider that it actually avoids an unnecessary escalation of a potential trade deal. So I think it's a little bit too early to make that type of conclusions, I'm afraid.
OK, I only say this because, of course, the euro has fallen 1% against the dollar today. We heard from the French Prime Minister saying that he thought the EU had resigned itself into submission. The Irish said that this wasn't exactly a moment of celebration. It does look like, at least as you say on the surface, because we haven't got all the details yet, that the EU have conceded more than the United States have.
Well, let's perhaps, go a little bit into the limited information we have about the deal. So there will be, a 15% tariff for all products. What this means is that European cars, for instance, that they were subject to 27.5% tariff, now it will be decreased to 15%. So one can certainly consider that is not a bad deal, that type of reduction. There will also be a number of strategic products that will face a 0 tariff. Products covered by the exemption, will be aircraft and component parts, certain chemicals, certain agricultural products, natural resources, and critical raw materials. The list of exempted products is also work in progress, so we need to wait. I think as far as steel and aluminium is concerned, the details are pending, but the European Commission seems cautiously optimistic that the tariffs will be cut and there will be a quota system implemented.
Okay.
And last but not least, as far as alcoholic beverage is concerned, which is very important to a number of member states, there will continue to be further discussions. So, all in all, I think there could be some sort of positive elements as to the status quo that European imports had. And obviously, others may consider that the EU could have been more ambitious. It's difficult to strike the right balance given the president.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's difficult always to strike a balance. We really appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
OK, well, Sky's Wilfred Frost has been speaking to one of the world's most successful investors, Ray Dalio, the hedge fund manager who recently wrote the book on how countries go broke, told Wilf whether he thinks the risks of a bond market meltdown, which could cause a crisis in government borrowing, have been priced into the market, both here in the UK and indeed in the US. Let's listen in.
I'd say bond and currency markets. And I want to say, that's why I wrote the book, okay? My experience has been that, no, it's not priced in. Until these things actually start to happen, you get this complacency. And so now the question for you or for your audience is it priced into the markets? Well, I'll answer the question and say, no, it is not priced into the markets.
Well, delighted to say, Sky's very own Wilfred Frost, also the host of the Master Investor podcast, is live for us. Wilf, you talked about that, and you also talked about the UK and the debt the big debt mountain that we have here.
Yeah, on the UK, he used the phrase, the debt doom loop, he said that we were in, and he said the only way out of it is to cut our deficit. It's currently 5.1% of GDP, to get it down to 3% of GDP, and actually said that should be through a mix of tax hikes and spending cuts. But that phrase, a debt doom loop, is what he applied to the UK at the moment. Very interesting to hear him outline the timing there as to when things may get much worse all of a sudden. And he said the triggers are beginning to flash and flicker as it relates to bond markets and currency markets of both the UK and the US. I did also talk to him a little bit about equity markets, of course, where he made a huge amount of his money as the founder of Bridgewater Associates, one of the most successful hedge funds of all time. And I also asked him, Darren, whether he thought AI stocks were overvalued.
I think that the pricing of superscalers, the obvious AI labels on them, particularly the ones that have done very well, like them and the Magnificent Seven, have become rather expensive relative to what even optimists would say are the present value of the future cash flows. Having said that, of course, it's so revolutionary and so disruptive that it's very hard to say for sure that that's the case.
It was a wide-ranging conversation, Darren. Lots on debt, obviously, given his new book. Lots, by the way, on broad investment advice for would-be investors, and also portfolio construction. By the way, he said you should have about 15% or more in gold and Bitcoin at the moment, given those threats he sees out there. The full conversation is available on the Master Investor podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Indeed, we do love a good plug. I cannot leave this interview without asking. I've also thought that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. As someone who has some stubble and a bit of a beard, what's happened? It's changed overnight, Wilf.
It was nice to see it there, recorded at the end of last week, that interview. There was just a temporary little thing I tried out, had a week off, grew it, came back for a week, got rid of it.
OK, good stuff as always. We'll be tuning in, Wilf. Appreciate your time. Have a good afternoon. We'll be back with you on breakfast tomorrow morning. Thank you. Now, Amazon has announced it has renewed its UEFA Women's Football Partnership to the end of this decade. That comes as England Lionesses, of course, successfully won the Euros yesterday against Spain. As the official retail sponsor, Amazon reaffirmed its support in growing the women's game. Well, earlier I spoke to Andrea George, who is a sport reporter at City AM, and she told us why sponsorships are on the rise.
as visibility increases through tournaments like the Women's Euros, through the Women's World Cup, so does value of the game. And with increased value, we're seeing more sponsorships, more investment. So really more growth in women's football is to be expected as a result. Sponsorship levels were projected to break records at this Women's Euros. The revenue from this stream was forecasted to be 145% higher than in 2022. So a really big increase in just 3 years.
Now, they might be best remembered for making the phone in everyone's hands 15 years ago. However, today, BlackBerry primarily focuses its efforts on cyber security. At its peak in 2010, BlackBerry sold over 50 million smartphones annually, but is now securing communications for international events like the G7 and telecommunications for the emergency services during natural disasters. Well, delighted to say we can speak to John Giammatteo, who is BlackBerry's chief executive, and as you can see, is live there in Waterloo, Canada for us. John, a very good morning, I suppose it is, for you. We have to start. We cannot start, and I'm sure you've told this story many times before. It's the big strap at the bottom of our screen. Just remind us the journey, let's say, that BlackBerry's been on over the last 15 years.
Yeah. Hey, Darren, thanks so much for having me on the program and having the opportunity to talk about the journey. We celebrated our 40th anniversary last year of BlackBerry providing security, trust, and innovation. That's always what we've been about. We did a massive transformation in the last decade as we evolved from devices to software and services. While the products and services that people hold today can't be held in the palm of your hands, the values of security, trust, and innovation really hasn't changed that much in terms of what we provide to our customers. So it's been a massive transformation from devices to software and services, but it's one that's really helped the company get on the right track.
And just in terms of those new services, as you say, a lot of it's now around security, which is quite important, and contracts with governments and with events. I talked about the G7 there, for example.
Exactly, Darren. Two specific areas that we focus on. One is secure communications for the customers that you mentioned. We serve 19 out of the 20 G20 countries around the world. 8 out of the 10 largest banks in the world use our products and services, as well as large enterprise customers all around the world. The second dynamic, the second division, which people don't maybe know as much about, is our QNX division. And the QNX powers 255 million cars around the world. We provide that safety critical operating system that makes the car work. Chances are your car, Darren, is probably using BlackBerry technology to power all the safety features in the car. So those are our two divisions: secure communications, supporting governments, and powering the vehicles and the next generation software-defined cars of the future.
And that's the fascinating thing, isn't it? We've now got used to the fact that what we want with our communications is definitely security. Is there a little bit of an element of a regret, though, about losing the physical device? And let's be honest about this, John. You know, the BlackBerry name was a household name a couple of decades ago, less so these days.
There's always, I would say, Darren, I think it's a really good point. There's always that nostalgia about that keyboard that people held in their hands and, was doing their power emails and power texting. But I think the greater value proposition around security. When people had that BlackBerry, you see presidents, leaders around the world didn't want to give up their BlackBerry because of how secure they felt with it. So that feeling of security, of trust, of innovation, that continues today. We just provide it in the form of software. So while the hardware is a little bit nostalgic, we think the core value proposition and what we provide still resonates with a lot of our customers around the world.
Just very finally, John, on this. I mean, you wouldn't say no to making a comeback, though, because it's kind of in zeitgeist now, isn't it? There's been dramas made about it on Netflix. Lots of Generation Z are saying, you know what, I quite like the phone. They're trying to almost hack back into it. I mean, you wouldn't, as Chief Executive of BlackBerry, rule out the possibility of handsets at some stage making a comeback, would you?
It's funny you say that because I have 3 Generation Z daughters around my table every day, and they're like, Dad, when are you going to bring back the phone? Not on our radar screen right now. Software and services is really what we're more committed to. It's helped us reduce our cost structure, get better focus on the company, and return the company to profitability. First time we've been profitable in a long time. So you'll probably see us continue down the path of software and services for the foreseeable future, Darren.
Well, John, good luck with it all. We really appreciate your time this afternoon there live from Canada. Thank you for joining us here on Sky News.
Thanks for having me on the program.
Well, you're watching Business Live on Sky News. From phones to chocolate. Coming up after the break, from just one employee in a car full of the stuff to a £20 million market share. We'll be hearing from the German chocolate maker Ritter Sport on the 10 years of operations in the UK and Ireland and what they make, of course, of that US-EU trade deal. That's in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead.
Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News. Get the full story first.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
I just took a shower above the clouds. You know why? Because this is the Emirates A380.
better. Thank you.
Now, we all love a bit of chocolate, and the German chocolate producer Ritter Sport this month has celebrated 10 years of operations in the UK and Ireland. The company has gone from just one employee and a car full of chocolate to grow to a £20 million slice of the market, reaching up to 50 million people. Well, let's speak to Benedict Daniels. He's Managing Director of Ritter Sport in the UK and Ireland. Daniel, very good afternoon to you. It's a pretty competitive market, so what's been the secret recipe, if you like?
Well, thank you for having me, Darren. I think our success is probably driven by managing to create new value in the market. And as you said, it is a very competitive environment. We've got brands with 200 years history that we're competing against, but in kind of 4 areas, we've been able to create value for our consumers and our trade partners, in particular, taste, quality, innovation, and doing things the right way, making chocolate the right way with a high degree of ethics. And that seems to have resonated extremely well, as you said, in this competitive environment.
Yeah, indeed, and it is competitive, not just because there's lots of big rivals tussling for that market share, but also, I assume, in recent years, the cost of the ingredients in those chocolate products has only gone one way.
Yeah, that's true. We've experienced a decade of VUCA environment, as we call it. We've had kind of metaphorical punches to the gut from things like Brexit. And then more latterly, we've seen a massive escalation in the costs of cocoa. And we've had to deploy strategies to cope with that and continue our aggressive growth trajectory. And we feel we've done that very well. We've done it responsibly. We've tried to put the consumer at the centre of our decisions and our strategies, but also worked fantastically well with our trade partners to ensure that our value position is right for the trade, right for the consumer, and right for us. And I'm very pleased to say that we've done that incredibly effectively in the last kind of 12 to 18 months.
And how do you kind of break into the UK market? I mean, I talked there, didn't I, about, one man in his car and a load of chocolate in the boot. I'm sure it's obviously a lot more sophisticated than that, in the sense of what do you have to do to get brand recognition, to get on shelves in shops and elsewhere?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, surround yourself with a great team. I'm very lucky to work with some of the most talented individuals in the CPG or FMCG environment in the UK and Ireland. And we couldn't do anything without the fantastic team that we've got. We've got 113 years heritage from our teammates in Germany and Austria, where we have production facilities. And we've got an intense focus on quality and innovation. And in particular, the way that we've broken through is to deliver incremental sales for our trade partner categories. So about 2/3 of our sales are purely incremental to retailers. And we find that that's integral to our success and integral to our growth.
OK, Benedict, we appreciate your time this afternoon, live here on Sky News from Ritter Sport, the chocolate German manufacturer. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
OK, that is it from me for Business Live for the moment. We're not on tomorrow morning, and I'll tell you why. It's because of what's happening at Southend Airport at the moment, where we are waiting for the Lionesses to emerge. Hopefully in the next couple of minutes. We've been saying that for the last hour or so. We are going to get their victory parade from 10 a.m. tomorrow morning here on Sky News. But we will be back tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 as usual. Up next, it's the News Hour with Mark Austin. Stay tuned for that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.